How's that sound? That's probably way too loud, actually. Let's go back to 0 here. All right. I know how to do audio stuff, sort of. All right, let's get this going. So today we are going to be looking at CA 1508. Yeah, it's definitely not a real stream unless there's no audio. I just noticed that yeah, I think I have the sound like the music playing as well. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep that going while I'm just hanging out because background noise is always good. And I don't think you can hear the music. So we're still having issues. Uh, you know, uh, just the problem is that audio is hard, especially when you have way too many audio devices. All right. It should be kind of low now. Okay, good. I don't want it to be overwhelming. If you want it turned up, just let me know. I can definitely do that. Uh, Sweet. Okay. Gotta ask, what kind of guitars are behind you? Okay. So I will start on this side. This is an ESP LTD Buzz McGrath 7 string. It's pretty sweet. This one is a Jackson Warrior. Forget the exact model. I've had that one since I was like a teenager. Uh, and then next to it is, I don't even know what the model, but it's an Ibanez acoustic. And then I've got other guitars randomly throughout the area. Maybe I'll hang some different ones up next stream. We'll just do a one stream where I just show off all my audio equipment that I love. 'Cause, you can't see it now, but I have just like a stack of amps and stuff here. And the reason I run into all these audio issues while I'm streaming is because I have so much audio equipment hooked up. So it just keeps changing configuration on me, which is a lot of fun. So so CA 1508. If you're not familiar, this is our analyzer that helps you reduce unreachable code. Like, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but the general idea is that the analyzer is telling you, like, oh, this thing is always going to be true for cases like if you're always tracking an if block and it just says if true. That's kind of an easy one where it's like, oh, well, that's always going to be true, so why would you even have that? Like, you can just remove that. But it does catch more complex cases, but it does have a lot of issues. It's a tough problem to solve. I've never touched anything to do with this before, so I'm gonna get into like how I'm gonna find an issue, and hopefully we can get one as well. So if you're just joining me, this is your first time, we do Roslyn related things, which is the .NET compiler and tooling around that. The Roslyn analyzer repo is the set of analyzers that we build that we ship separately from the Roslyn repo. They come in their own package, but they also get included in the SDK tools and stuff like that. So there's a lot of goodness that comes out of this. And yeah, if you're ever feeling really spicy, go check it out. .NET/Roslyn analyzers on GitHub, or just Roslyn. That's where I do most of my work. I don't usually do Roslyn analyzers all that much. But yeah, so the general idea is, across both these repos, is if you're looking for an issue and you want to pick up something, we always mark stuff as help wanted. So generally, help wanted means that the problem should be enclosed well enough that someone can just pick it up and get running. They don't need any feedback from us. There's no like open design questions or anything like that. So these are always good to just get started with. So we can always just, take a look at one of these. So I didn't do a lot of homework, even though I thought I was going to, on how to do this. So we're going to pick one on stream. So I think this one is, so round null coalescing. So ms equals, cool. So this is saying memory stream equals this, and then using memory stream, where's the false positive? Oh, using ms should not be flagged as dead code. That is true. That seems very straightforward. And I kind of like this one because it should be very easy to make a unit test for. So we'll just do that. Hopefully we can fix this one. Streams usually last 2 to 3 hours, give or take. After that, I'm too brain dead to really code, especially because this is the end of the workday for me. So I've already been coding all day. Right, so first things first. Find out where CA 5108 is. That's not what I wanted. I can type sometimes. CA15. What was the number again? Nobody should trust me to do this. 1508. Cool. General idea. Hopefully we mark these. Why is this actually showing? Is that a bug? Hey Pedro. You know, we're using Dev 17 or, you know, Visual Studio 2022, Preview 2, and I think I just found a bug. Sweet. Did we really not mark that, like, anywhere, though? Here we go. Oh, we have a bunch of pragma disables on this one. That's kind of funny. So yeah, this one is a definitely one of those analyzers that I think is infamous for being difficult to use and having potential large amount of problems. So let's just hope we can fix a few of them. The interesting thing about this analyzer as well is it uses the DataFlow analysis. So if we can improve DataFlow analysis, which is hopefully how we'll fix this issue, we are going to fix this problem, but potentially other problems as well, and make things better. Cool. So this is what I was looking for. The void dead conditional test. So let's just go down to the bottom. I'm glad to see there's a lot of tests for this. That's quite a lot of tests. And what's the issue number here? So if you've never used testing, this is the general way to write the test in our repos. Pretty straightforward. All we do is mimic the code we want to test. It's pretty awesome. And this library that we use has gotten better over the years. We maintain it. So one thing we're gonna have to do is memory stream. I want to say is system.io. Yeah, we gotta add our using statements here. Cool. And then for good measure, let's just do var I equals plus 5. Can you give a quick summary of the file structure? Is there one for testing per analyzer? Yeah, we can go over the file structure real quick. I think that's pretty good. I usually actually don't know the file structure that well because I just use the go to all command. which is Control T or Control comma. And I kind of just search, but knowing the file structure is pretty helpful sometimes. So let's go over that. I think if you look at this a little bit, let's collapse all this. So we do have top level folders that I think are pretty helpful, and you can kind of guess along the lines of like, okay, this ships in analyzers, here's our utilities. We have a band API analyzer that we do differently. Net analyzers will ship with, I think those are the ones that ship with the SDK, although maybe all of these. Performance sensitive public API, you know, like the top level here is intended to break it down for, I think, packages that we ship or binaries. I'm not 100% on that one actually, but you can generally guess. Oh, actually, you know what? It might be based off of, now that I think about it. So these analyzers, you can see we have like meta analyzers and stuff. But if you look at the net analyzers, these are all going to be specific ones around using code correctly within .NET. So like code quality, net core specific stuff, and net framework specific stuff. So I think these are all like using the .NET APIs correctly is net analyzers. I think other analyzers are generally more meta stuff that like you may or may not enable, but is kind of like preference. So if we look at these, a lot of these are like style oriented. Localizable diagnostic analyzer. Yeah. Code action name, workspaces. Oh, duh. Are these meta analyzers are for using Roslyn APIs. Ah, that's what it is. That's why they're meta analyzers. All of the, I'm pretty sure all the time we have the analyzers, we have the package. So if we ship this, we'll have a setup for, you know, what goes into it. And then we'll have tests, and sometimes we have to break things up into C# and Visual Basic. We don't break our test libraries up like that anymore because you can test both in the same file with the test framework that we use now. So you'll see, but this is for C# specific stuff. So whenever you're writing an analyzer, if you have just the .analyzers, you have to make things as like generic. You're not allowed to use C# specific syntax or symbols or anything like that. Yeah, hopefully that is helpful. I guess the question you're asking is where do we write tests and stuff? They're always next to the, so there's always a test project that's going to be next to the project that it's testing. And so, yeah, like net analyzers, unit tests, test net analyzers, then you have the C# and Visual Basic breakdown. So this one is going to be in net analyzer as well, which makes sense because we're kind of improving .NET as a whole. We're not doing anything specific to like using Roslyn code, for example. So yeah, that would make sense. Right. And per usual, we just copy and paste. Oh. So each file seems to be slightly different in this repo and how they like to write their test code. I guess that just depends on who wrote it. Because some people just prefer the end lining like this. And I'm just going to assume that that's the correct thing to do here because the one above me did it. And if not, that's okay too. I don't mind getting things like that wrong. In this case, we actually don't care about the language version. See, wait. There we go. Yeah, we need to run async there. So we could just run this as is, and I'll kind of give you a reason why sometimes that's a good idea. So what this is testing, and this is kind of a good indicator of what our test framework does, it'll test that our test code compiles, and we don't have anything. Does Roslyn analyzers have its own data flow analysis, or does it use the one from Roslyn? That I'm actually not sure of. I think it's shared code, which is why I'm interested to see like if we can fix things here. Because I think data flow and out, like there's a few levels of data flow analysis as far as what goes in and out variables, but then there's also I forget what it's called. We're gonna explore that a bit more. I'm not actually sure. Like I said, I've never actually touched this code before, so I'm kind of winging it here on stream. And you get to just come along for the ride and watch me figure this stuff out. Which maybe is just a good thing for my streams anyways, because I'm not sure I ever know exactly what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm going to run this test, and the reason being is I want to make sure I didn't make any dumb mistakes and that like this code actually compiles. So this test will fail if it doesn't compile or if there's any diagnostics that we didn't expect happening. And I like to do that especially when I'm copying and pasting code from GitHub, because sometimes people don't write code that compiles. And it's really annoying to figure that out like halfway through you trying to actually do something productive. This one should compile. Actually, it might not. It might actually fail because it's going to tell me that var I is unused. Oh, hey, Yusuf. There it is, the dataflow analysis under source utilities dataflow, but I think it uses both its own dataflow and the Roslyn one, depending on the scenario. Yeah, from my understanding, that's the case, is that we do ship this dataflow analysis separately from Roslyn, and the Roslyn dataflow analysis, I think, is provided by the compiler, and then this adds even more stuff on top of that. Yeah, so I think before I even look at it, this is going to fail because this is actually going to have a warning about this being unused, I bet. Ooh, or it's just going to be a test infrastructure problem. That's always fun. Yusuf, didn't you recently hit this problem? The package is missing the required new spec file. I think last time I did this, I literally just had to go delete this test packages folder. I'm gonna go do that real quick. Did you ever get resolution other than just deleting that folder? Perfect time on stream, Windows update. I don't think I would be doing that right now. Here we go. Yeah, so we have 4 diagnostics that triggered. Program using top-level statements must be an executable. That's correct, because we didn't have a class in here. We can write valid code. Modifier public is not valid for this item. It is now because it's a method. Top-level statements is not available. Static local functions is not available. Okay. We'll run this again. I forgot to put the method in a class. I've seen too much top-level statement stuff lately that I think it's like burning into my brain that you don't have to. But then you do have to use a specific language version. And it looks like we don't use that language version in our tests. Perfect. So, test passed, which is an interesting problem. And the reason that's an interesting problem is the bug is a report on a false positive. So that's meaning that we should have seen this using statement here as reported in the bug is flagged as dead code. Gotta go to a karate lesson. Yeah, you know, maybe I will try to fix all the things. Have a good time at your karate lesson. That's kind of awesome that you do karate. I'll have to ask more about that at another time. Because I don't know very much about karate, but it's fun to talk about. So, I would have expected this test to fail for two reasons. One, this is an unused variable, but maybe that's just a informational thing. It's not actually a warning or an error, so you know the test could pass that way. The main thing is that if it's a false positive, I would have expected the diagnostic to be here. And so we should have to annotate this like so, assuming that that actually passes, but because that's how we indicate that a diagnostic span is being done. In this case, it's assuming that there's a default diagnostic provided by the analyzer being tested, which I think there is. We'll find out in the test. But if not, we have to use a slightly different annotation. Markup syntax only supports single diagnostic. All right. 508. Ooh. C# results at... What are these tests doing? I swear I find something new every stream where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go check this thing out. And I find after I tell you guys like how things work, I find that not everything works like I would think it is. So this is doing C# results at... Oh, this is actually checking the string as well. That's kind of funny. Yeah, it's just checking the string as well. Pretty useful, probably. But I would have liked to not have to do that. So we're going to use the shorthand for now. I think it'll be fine. We'll learn. There is a comment on the issue saying the false positive only happens if MS can be null in the code path, but using statements shouldn't be affected. Enable analyzer 1 for my project. Compile a program. Should not be flagged as dead code. So, Yusuf, you're saying there's a comment that she's saying the false positive only happens. Comment out the string equals null, check. The suggestion disappears. You can string now could be null. That looks like yeah, so you're talking about this comment from Poke here. But that's interesting because the initial problem seemed to be unrelated. So it's a null coalescing check that was unrelated. The CA1508 should this is not dead conditional code, right? Because either way, the using statement is useful. We can write it like this, like if this is null return. That code itself, the stream equals null. Oh. Actually, but this wouldn't make sense because we know that this is returning null all the time, right? Like this is literally dead code. Which I assume the DataFlow analysis is smart enough to know. Like, this get stream has one implementation, and that implementation returns null, so we're always going to go here. So like effectively, we're comparing null against null. And I think that's the whole point of like the added DataFlow analysis in the Roslyn analyzer repo, is it does add on stuff like that. Be interesting if this get stream return not null. Maybe I should add a test for that, but I do expect this. Like the 1508 here does make sense. So I thought the initial problem, especially from the initial report, was that if it encountered a null coalescing, it thought it exited early. In which case it would think this is like dead code because this would be the end of the method. And so that was my initial hunch on this bug. Sure. We can try this though, because this should produce an error. Leave it static. Get rid of this. I'll rename it in a second. Okay. So we should see this. Actually, give us a result. And then what I'm going to do is return a new memory stream here and see if that changes the result. And if it does, that means it's working as expected. And then could potentially do two things. We could comment that we wrote a test and it didn't work, and check to see what version they're using. Yeah, so this returned the diagnostic. Oh, a type could not be found. Is stream not also in system.io? Thought it was. Hang on. Type or namespace name. Oh, private seg stream, get stream, null. Extra new. Gotcha. Good catch. Forgot to get rid of the new. This is where pair programming works. All right, this is verify analyzer async. What does verify analyzer async do that's different? I think it just assumes, like it's just a shorthand for this. So, is this saying in the latest that this is no longer flagged? Like this one should be an easy case, right? Like we should get an error here because we just literally have a return statement before our using statement. What? Did our test just pass? Wait, this isn't WebXR. It is not WebXR. I'm sorry you were looking for WebXR. I do know a little bit about WebXR. I actually helped write some of the standards back when they were first coming out. But I guarantee you I couldn't answer your questions anymore. It's been years. Yeah, no, sorry. I moved on to .NET. No longer in WebXR. WebXR is the virtual reality, augmented reality way specification for web tools. So it's how browsers provide interfaces for like writing VR in a browser. Pretty nifty that you can write a VR app in a browser and it works. And an AR as well. But yeah, sorry. Nope, doing .NET these days. And apparently failing pretty hard at it because I really don't know why this is not getting flagged now. Like this return statement here should definitely just be like everything after that is dead code. Like I'm literally just gonna go to oh, do I need the analyzer config files? What is these are very complicated tests. I was really hoping they wouldn't be. Let's go back up to where we were looking at the C# results at. C5108. All right. The analyzer is more about dead conditional code, not dead code in general, so the return is expected to not produce a diagnostic, I think. Especially that the compiler already produces diagnostics for that case. Yes. So but this was the initial case in the mostly I'm just trying to test to see if our tests are actually working correctly. Because here is, I'll just rename this to stream because it's bugging me. This is the case in the bug. So I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding that that's actually what should be happening. It's like this is. Do we have this enabled in our, like, if I just type this out here. We got the usings. I don't think we have this enabled. But I just am curious if my test is correct. Because this should be producing a diagnostic. So if you comment out the null equals check, suggestion disappears because stream could now be null. Okay, steps to reproduce, enable. SDK version 5.0.301. So this might be something that's fixed in a later SDK. Let's look at, should have a console app here. If you comment out the null, suggestion disappears. So I thought they were saying that 1508 goes away if you comment out this check here. What do we have? We'll just go check this out. I don't know if this is gonna fit in here. Okay, let's try net 5. I don't remember. Enable net analyzers true. Oh, you know what sorry, I'm just like all over the place today. What I didn't do was change the text here. I'm bad at during the day. I'm just kind of all over the place. It's current issue text. Bam. Oh yeah, analysis mode, we want all enabled by default. And then we just paste this in. So you're saying if I comment this out, it does show up? Is what the reporter was trying to say? So I'm using a newer version of .NET, which is also using a newer version of the tool set. What versions do I have installed? I think I have an older one. Yeah, here we go. Recently had to move all of my things. This should be using an older version of the SDK. There's also, I could just do the like lock file to make it use an older version. All right. Well, I'm going to comment on this. and move on. I only have so much brain power to do stuff on stream. False positive and a catch block. Alright, let's do this again. We're just gonna literally see if we can get these to... Here we go. Okay, this one seems good. Yeah, I don't think that other issue repros anymore. It might have actually just already been fixed. Static void, there we go. Okay. This should report issues. We'll get an actual bug this time. Really need to make it so it's easier to write C# in strings. I know there's a new feature coming for that, but syntax highlighting and stuff would be really cool. Here we go. Perfect. New plan, new bug number. Okay. So we want this to pass. We're going to remove this comment though. Okay. Let's dig in. So I think the good news is only one thing was being reported here, and that was this line for CA 1508. So this will be the actual like test case we can look at. It's also good because no other problems are being reported here, so you know, no noise. Perfect. One diagnostic. Cool. Let's dig into this analyzer then. Diagnostic results. There we go. This is what I want. Go back to this. So let's find where it actually reports. So this is going to be an always false. Report always true false diagnostic. So we want to see where this diagnostic is getting reported. Binary operator makes sense. So if predicate kind always false. Okay, we can just step over this and we'll go back up here. So I want to dig into get predicate kind here. So it is a binary operation. Imo! Hey friend, how's it going? Hope you are doing well. Yeah, all the guides said I should stream at 720p. Should I not stream at 720p? No, my internet's fine. I'll do. No, actually, no, my internet's terrible. I need to start a GoFundMe to get better internet so I can stream 1080p. Capture in 1080, stream in 720. Why? Hang on. Let me close this. It's bothering me. Yeah, you know, I try. Um, I'll look into doing 1080p after this because my internet should be able to handle it. Honestly, it was just that it might be that yeah, games 720p makes sense, or even that like if you're a large streamer, maybe it makes sense. But yeah, I can try 1080p next time. I don't really want to try to like I've already fangled enough things on stream. I don't want to do that right now. Well, that David, that could just be because of your internet. Okay, back to get predicate kind. Here is what I was looking at. Got distracted. Here we go. Go back up to this. Okay, predicate kind value map, try get value for an operation. What even fills this map? This is okay. Now we're getting into the heart of it. Data flow analysis results. This is what we need. I don't care about these breakpoints anymore. I need to know where the predicate map comes from. that has nothing in it. Well, we want only when it's not empty. Perfect. So we have a binary operation that's unknown, and a binary operation that's always false. So where does it think that the always? I guess I could actually just look at what are these? Because this predicate map is predicate value kinds. So I want to see instances where always false is set. Okay, so predicate analysis data. It's already checking. Here we go, predicate analysis. Oh my gosh. I'll log on that too. You're not navigating to. Okay. So there's one case that's set. We'll put a breakpoint there. I'm very confused by this, but I'm sure it makes sense. Perfect. And we only want to look in analyze your utilities because that's where the data flow analysis stuff is. So we just want to find when the predicate value is always set to always false in our test. Because that will give us an indication of why it thinks it's always false. What? This is the one that would confuse me the most. It's just literally swapping. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is the operation we care about. So what is this doing? So the predicate value kind is always true. Do we have to check values for always true as well then? Which is kind of annoying. That's okay. Let's do that. Comment on Twitter. How on earth is that code indented so far? I don't have a good answer other than they're right. How is that code indented so far? Okay. I think we've captured this. I think we got this. I have kind of a horror story about indented code, actually. Um, And it's funny because if you weren't in my stream earlier, somebody came in thinking I still worked on WebXR. So a little backstory on that. I used to work on the HoloLens team, and uh, we started doing WebXR as a means to work with like a standards body to make sure that Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome and Firefox, all of them could handle VR on the web, right? So WebXR is for mixed reality. It's for augmented reality and virtual reality. Um, so that's kind of like my claim to how I got into this. But I used to work with the Edge team pretty heavily, and when they were porting a lot of code from IE for certain things, and IE was terrible for this, and it was very old like Microsoft practice. Um, but if you've ever worked in Windows, like H results are a big thing. And so they would have these like long, just if blocks over and over again of just straight like if succeeded this, and your actual code would be nested under like 5 to 10 if blocks that were all indented. It was horrible. I don't know how people code like that. Sort of. So WASM can use WebXR stuff. The main thing about WebXR is it provided browser level APIs for how to do interaction with headsets and peripherals, right? Because they need to know about like handsets and the headset data in order to render correctly. So we already have like 3D rendering in a browser. We just need to make that improved. Needs an error handling macro with goto. I've had to deal with those. I almost ripped my eyeballs out. It was that bad. Okay. If new value non-literal state is invalid. Is there documentation on what invalid means? Yeah, control flow handling it's a nightmare, especially when it's in macros because you can't tell. Like, you just have to learn the macros that are problems. Because even if you try to go look at the definition of the macros were impossible to read because they always reference like 5 other macros in the middle of a macro. I can't stand it. Variable state is invalid due to predicate analysis. Okay, so that's just saying that existing target value. Let's go back up to this. So what is this doing? Set value for comparison operator. So this is just setting the value for this local reference, which is comparing to in this binary operation. Current assigned value. This does not read well. L1 and LN. Does anybody know what that means? I'll leave that up to you to figure out. It's literal state, analysis, entity factory, try create. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna have to pull up the code again just to see what we're actually testing because I think that will help me here. Where did my test go? Visitor, 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 result builder, data flow analysis, code, null analysis. Did my test disappear? I don't like that. Okay. So we are... See, I is not a literal. Temps minus 1 is a constant. So that makes sense. So that's a literal. What is literal state? It's literal because a constant minus another like literal is going to be basically literal. Like that makes sense if we treat constants as literals. I don't see any reason to separate them here. So let's look at this intersect value. This literal values. Okay, so it knows that the value is 4. Value 2. Literal values 0. So it's assuming. Maybe I should actually go back to this. This might actually be like a case where this is still correct. Oh, okay. I see. So what's happening here is it's not taking into account the throw being caught here. And so it assumes that it's 0. That seems wrong. Like the values that this integer can be are 0 or 4 when it comes to the exception. Okay. So literal values intersects what is value 2 literal values. Where do our literal values get set? All right. Back to debugging. Literal values. Okay, so this is a bug where DataFlow analysis doesn't know that there's a literal value that could be there. Of course, we'll put a condition here. So we don't care about when they're empty. We only care about this case. So this is null. We don't care about that. String, we don't care about it. 0. 0 we do care about. Contains 0 integral literal state. So there are 2 cases where this C gets used. And maybe contains non-literal states. What? Okay. Bum 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 bum. I don't know. This is gonna be a debug heavy stream, I feel like. So buckle in. Yeah. This is a numeric literal expression of 0. Where do we have a numeric expression of 0? It's this. Yeah, I think we've already missed it. Gonna go back here. I will say, this is the first time looking at the DataFlow stuff. And unsurprisingly, it is very complex. Okay, so this operation should be our... This is just the literal operation. Okay, here we go, which is the simple assignment operation. So this is the literal operation for when we're declaring I equals 0. Does it just not consider anything past that? Like, it doesn't consider the fact that the declaration is in a for loop that modifies that? That's interesting. Okay. Okay, so we have value content data flow operation visitor. Existing target value, target entity, and the target entity in this case is target. Okay. So these values have already been set though. You know, I think that would be great. I would have to understand it fully first. And so this is very much an exploratory stream, and I'm kind of hoping that people learn... I'm going to turn the music down a little bit because it's kind of loud on my end. I'm hoping that people learn that even though I work on this stuff, I don't always know exactly what I'm doing, and there are good techniques you can use to navigate through stuff. Like, I've never once in my life looked at this file that I know of. I do think as I get better at understanding this, because DataFlow is kind of a really awesome thing, and I think getting better at understanding it would be cool. And maybe after, like, as a summary to the stream, I could explain what I learned. Because I am learning a lot already. Like, I can already tell you. So this analysis here, which says for data flow analysis, uses a very similar pattern to like operation visitors. So if you look at how we're doing operation stuff here, it's looking at this binary operation. So we have the data flow operation visitor, which visits every binary operation and then checks to see if the operation is something we care about, and then determines if that binary comparison could ever be like actually true. What I'm missing right now in my mind is how, because this is after it's going through the operation visit, it's already determined potential values for something, right? And that's kind of where I'm missing in my mental map of how this works. So we have this left operand, which is this local reference to I in our case. And the left operand really just seems to be computing the wrong potential values. And I think it's because it's assigned to an initial constant, and it doesn't know that in the for loop is a modification. And really the only, DataFlow should basically consider for loops and data modification as like, okay, if I exists here and it starts at 0, we have potential values only are exit cases, right? So the exit case is always going to be the for loop exit case because you define that. But then there's also breaks or returns inside the for loop that would count as exit cases as well. And I don't think it's handling that correctly. I just don't know where that is yet. So that's what I'm looking for. And we've kind of gotten past this, right? Like, I think at this point, we're already trying to get existing target values. So these values have already been calculated. I think I need to go back to, I don't need to care about this predicate value kind of anymore. What I really care about is that value map, which I think I just accidentally, there we go. So I want to see when this value map gets set, because that value map is the important part of this. And then I imagine past that, we're also going to go find some branching code that is how to compute that value map, because there's, let's see. So this is, so we're comparing the initial assignment here on this operation. Here we go. Okay. So we're seeing that the assigned value is getting set here, which is great. This target is a local reference operation, so it's going to be the I when we're doing a variable declarator. So we step over that, we're going to see set abstract value for assignments. Visit array initializer, visit local reference, visit parameter reference. Yo. Okay. What might be missing here? So the operation that's being visited definitely is going to have a... We keep going... Oh. Simple assignments are not parented, or sorry, the for each operation. Okay, do we know that this assignment is happening in a for each operation? Who's good with the I operation stuff? Who knows this stuff? Because I only sometimes know this. And for each operation, I don't know. But that seems to be the case. So we're returning this assigned value, which makes sense because we're doing an assignment. I don't think it's going to visit anything past that, right? Like it's going to go to this simple assignment. This is, this might honestly be a weird architecture limitation. So it doesn't seem like it handles assignments in loops very well. And I wonder if that's because most of the time if an assignment happens... What other cases in C# does this assignment happen that's similar to a for loop assignment? For each? For each would work. We could do a for each with a range or something like that. So if I did basically enumerated the values, would that also be the same problem? It might be. Interesting. Okay. I mean, because this value is correct, right? Like this is an assignment. Okay. This block here has one operation, an assignment operation. Okay, that all makes sense. Okay, where is this coming from? This is run core, control flow graph, blah, blah, blah. So the reason the diagnostic is in the catch block, yeah, let me make sure, I'm gonna look at the code real quick to make sure I understand your question correctly. So you're saying if it didn't understand, then why would it happen here? Or why would it not happen here? That's a good question, because these are both the same. So why does it know that I could be attempts -1, which it very much could be. It's actually a really good question. I don't have a good answer for that. Not yet, at least. What determines these blocks? I might be silent for a bit while I read this. P is valid, basic block or null value tuple indicates the following. Non-null tuple value indicates a unique branch. Flow kind indicates the nature of branching, i.e. the condition or fall through. Okay. Results builder, blah, blah, blah. Block to unique input flow map. So this should have the blocks. Because I'm interested that this block only contains this assignment operation. So I think to answer your question, we're actually getting into this, hopefully. Might be a useful comment, another similar issue from Manish. Let's open it and find out. Yes, this was just the for each case. Based on standard data flow algorithm, works on monotonic transfer function, utilizing conversions to each iteration. A lot of big words. Iterate the control flow graph pass until we converge. Core issue here is coming from try catch within a loop. Nice find. I think that's funny because that's literally the method I was just looking at. Yeah, so this is literally where we're trying to do a merge on this. It looks like potentially we're merging wrong. Let me zoom this in because I know that's probably hard to read on stream. Or you just go look at it, I guess. Yeah, so this method here, what Manish was saying probably contains the bug, and I agree. Okay, so this control flow graph is what comes from Roslyn. So we have 10 unique blocks in this control flow graph. These blocks are the simple assignment, which we looked at. It's gonna be a pain. So this one doesn't have any operations. This one's a simple assignment operation, so that's gonna be the I equals 0. This one is another simple assignment. Is this actually? Oh, this is the I equals 0. What was this original assignment then? Oh, that's the constant declaration. Okay. No operations in this block. No operations here. Good. This expression, this is the console, right? There we go. This is the object creation operation. This is the catch declaration, in which case we have the exception caught. So here's our catch operation. That's the contained operation. So the one we're looking for, because it goes through each block, correct? Yeah, so it's going through each block. Needs at least one pass, is unreachable. Okay, here we go. Check if we are starting a try region which has one or more associated catch filters. So really merge the input data for the try region, associated catch filter region. I see. Let's see if that actually gets hit, because that would mean that the merge here. Okay, so what is this block that we're looking at? This is a binary operation block. So this is our hello world expression. Did I do something too ambitious for this stream? Maybe. But we're gonna keep going. This is quite a lot of code though. I feel like I'm pretty close, but the main thing is how the catch block inputs get merged into the try block, right? So the enclosing region kind is a try here. I like that we have CA1508 disabled in a short spot in our data flow analysis. That's just a little gift to us, so we know it's working correctly. Okay, so that's the merge of the try there, but we already have the predicate map. Do we do another merge after that? No. Okay. That's fine. I don't care about the breakpoint anymore. So here's our merging. This is our try catch. There's our hello world statements. I want to get to that's still the hello world statement. Alright, one thing I'm going to do to simplify my life here is literally make this test simpler. Gonna remove this console.write line. I don't want to see that in my test while I'm debugging. I want to see that. So it's merging that data and that's getting annoying. Alright, predecessors are this control flow branch. Okay, here we go. Here's where we're merging data on this initial try block. I like that these operations are nothing, but this is what I care about, is the syntax here. You'll be able to see that. I think I skipped over what I wanted to. So I want to see when I equals 4 here. There we go. Okay, so that's merging for I equals 4. Input here. Values. Known locations and locations. Null state, maybe null, not null. Okay. That's fine. Here's this merging again. Merging again. So we never actually merged in for the catch. Because it's only for the try. Usually one or more associated catch filter regions. It's the input data for a try region into the input data for the associated catch region. I don't think we do though. I think you're lying to me, comment. I think you are lying to me. Okay, so we're getting the catch region here. Get the catch block of data, which is great, yeah. Okay, so we are cloning this data. So let's do when the block and closing region dot kind, we want to break here. I want to see what happens because we're not merging anymore. We always merge from the try to the catch, which explains why we're not hitting this breakpoint on the catch. But I do want to see what happens when we iterate through the catch because it should have the right inputs now. So let's do a breakpoint here. We're going to do when this block region kind equals pro region kinds. In this case, we want a fetch. Did we not hit the catch at all? Am I misunderstanding what regions actually exist in this block here? All right. Okay, config blocks. The catch block should be so let's see. Closing region. This is the catch, but it's not marked as a catch. It does have an exception type. Does it have an enclosing region that's the catch? So this has the try and catch. Oh, there it is. That's the catch. So this is the catch. So 6 here. So I want to see when this is a catch. That's what we really care about. I think my streams have just progressively gotten worse at me solving problems. I hope y'all enjoying it. This is a doozy. I don't know whoever suggested that I should look at anything DataFlow related. Yeah, it's like, no, I know my comfort space, and then I'm like, yeah, no, let's move out of it. But I am struggling, but that's okay. I think there is validity into streaming harder bugs. I just should have done what I thought I should have done and didn't end up doing, which was do some research into data flow analysis first. Struggle daily. Yeah. No, it is. It's good to see that other people have problems. I mean, I've been coding for years. Sometimes you couldn't even tell. I'm that good. Problem with harder bugs like this is it's hard to follow as a viewer because I have it in the background. Yeah, that's the other thing is I know I'm like deep in data flow analysis code right now, and statements I think are starting to lose even sense to me, and I imagine if you're not paying full attention, it's going to be tough. What? No, you should definitely watch the stream during work hours. Like a TFA graph that doesn't even exist. You're right. Why does my why does this keep getting? I swear this keeps going away. Hang on. I don't want that there. I want. It'd be nice to dump the graph file. I'm more of a visual person. I am too, and that's the problem. Maybe it would be an interesting thing. Here we go. Okay, so this block here. So I'm kind of excited because I finally got the block I wanted, I think. But I'm a visual person as well, which is part of the reason I'm having trouble following this code, because the graph is not very easy to look at. Which is why I have to keep opening, like I look at the syntax tree and then go back to the code I ingested in. At this point, I've just paged it in my brain enough that I know it. All right, so we're going through the catch here. Make a syntax visualizer for Razor. You mean just like the tree structure like we have for Roslyn, the syntax there? Maybe I could do that on stream. I feel like that's one of those things that I like a first pass by myself in like a weekend, and then if I can do it, redo it on stream and explain what I did. Like, I cheat and just do everything ahead of time and then come back and do it again. I mean, that's what happens when you give talks, right? When you're giving a talk or something. Oh, did you for Minsk? That explains why you know exactly what was going on. I watched a few of those, and I just can't. I can't keep the quality as high because I was just like, oh yeah, data flow analysis. I know exactly what I'm not doing is knowing anything about data flow analysis, and we just watched the struggle bus. But I am excited to see because we're in this catch region now. And since catch region, just to catch up people who can page this information back in, uh, what we're looking for here is, and actually Yusuf pointed this out, which is really good for like paging this into my brain and like making me understand this a bit better. One, he gave me a good comment from Manish, which was awesome, and two, he pointed out that the if statement inside the try doesn't have the same problem. So that means the data being merged into the catch statement probably is not correct. Because the try has it, otherwise it would also report an error. I don't know, Imo, I think, you know, part of being good is just convincing people that you're good. Like, sometimes it's just knowing if you are bad at something and preparing to not show that. That's kind of being, that's a way of being good. Alright, there's no finally region. Okay. This result builder doesn't have any input data for this, but I thought it got merged. That's what I'm confused about. Like, I would expect this input data here to have been merged from previous. Okay, so in closing try. Oh, there we go. Here's where we're, so we get the catch block input here, and we set it. What is the input here? Values. Okay, so yeah, this is just the data map. Current watch results. Okay. Insert valid points, flow branch. Yeah, because this is still the binary operation that we're looking at. Is feasible branch true? It has data analysis. Is all cool. We don't have any finalies we need to worry about. Advance, update, let's see, leaving regions. Okay, probably okay. We don't need to update the input data for the branch destination block. Below invocation explicitly drops such data from destination input. I don't think the input's gonna change. No, it did actually. What did we add? Unknown, not null, locations, no locations. Man, debugging on stream, it's like 10 times more stressful than debugging in real life. I'll tell you what. I feel like my boss is just like sitting on my shoulder like, when are you gonna get this done? And he's not, he's a nice person. I want to look at this try statement too. I want to see. Okay, so this. Reachable blocks. Don't have this feeling. It's more like your pair program with another dev that says, "What the fuck is going on?" Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I think there's an interesting point in this stream where I kind of like I think I'm not able to keep your focus, which kind of sucks. I do want to keep hammering on this, so you're definitely welcome to hang out with me for this. I think also what I want to do, and I might be more interesting, is I want to solve this problem on my own and then come back on stream and talk about how I solved it. I think that would actually be more interesting than watching me go through this right now. So there are definitely some times where watching me problem solve will be helpful. I don't think this is one of them. I think it's just going to take too long. So I think that's the best plan moving forward. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to try to solve this off stream. And I'm going to come back and do my best to explain how I solved it, how in-depth the problem actually was, and maybe like we can do a follow-up stream and have if you have questions on that. So the next thing is should I take a look and see if I can fix a small non-DataFlow analysis bug real quick, or in the stream here? And I think I'm gonna call it here because I don't wanna push for time and also lose like my brain power. I want to be entertaining. I definitely appreciate y'all showing up, and I want to do my best to kind of keep the stream useful. And I'm losing that right now, and I don't think this last hour I'll be able to find a good bug to fix and fix in that hour. So I would rather just end the stream early. I hopefully will let you know when I do solve this problem. One thing actually we can do is we have solved problems in the past. And I wonder if we can look at the code reviews we had on those, because some of them have been successful and some haven't. We don't care about open, we just care if it's PR. It's okay to watch you debugging and think about how to solve it. I feel like that I learn good tricks. That's me. Yeah, I'm with you, but like I said, I think there's kind of a point where I'm just hitting like F10 a bunch and thinking out loud, and I'm not sure my thoughts are making a ton of sense. That said, if you want, I'm more than happy to do a debugging stream as well, where I just kind of go over tips and tricks. I think the problem here is that I'm not focused well enough to provide information. I'm kind of just struggling through it. And with my current like brain power, I'm not actually sure I'm even going to solve it in the next hour. I do need to I think I need to step away from this one for a little bit, come back, maybe even like grab a whiteboard and figure out how this stuff is working. And this is all stuff that I just haven't prepared to do on stream. And I'm learning as a new streamer. So maybe like in the future I can start doing diagrams and stuff. I'll figure out some good software for that. Because I do think like DataFlow, doing a diagram would be great. I'm losing ability to like actually do anything with this because I can't whiteboard this stuff out right now. I do think if you want to know more about how to do debugging, I can definitely do that. And I can spend the rest of the stream kind of going over that. If you'd like that, those are things I have some cool tricks that if you don't know about in the debugger, they're super helpful. Yeah, actually, let me talk about that. I'll spend at least a little time doing that. Because I've used some of these tricks during this stream and I haven't really talked about them, and that would have been a great thing to talk about if you're learning how to use the debugger. So the first things first, setting conditional breakpoints. Conditional breakpoints are awesome. What you can use is the zoom it. I don't know what that is. Zoom it. But I will go over a little bit more about this. So conditional breakpoints. If you've never done conditional breakpoints, they are super helpful. So there's kind of two things to know. You need to know when a value is changed and when you need something to evaluate as true. When changed is phenomenal when you're trying to track down multi-threading issues for value setting and race conditions and stuff like that. Like, you need to know who's setting what when. When changed is awesome. I've been using isTrue, and the reason I've been using isTrue is because I know I'm going through this whole list of blocks. In this case, the config blocks based on the block ordinal, but I only want to debug through some of them. And the isTrue condition is great for that. And actually, you can see I shorthand this a bit. So you do get completion and everything inside of this. So you can see, like, I was using IntelliSense and everything inside of this, which is great. So all I'm doing here is checking that the kind is of the catch or try. So when I was talking out loud, you can say that, like, I only care about the try and catch regions in this. But the way these try and catch regions work is I care about so each block is a control flow block, right? Like it's based off of when flow in a program changes. And so what I want to know is control flow changes within a block, which is a try catch, because a try catch itself is not technically a control flow change. Catch kind of is because it's catching an exception, but that's like a reactionary. I don't think it technically counts. So the enclosing region is what I really care about. So in this case, like we know that these are directly inside the try catch. If I embedded these further, I'd have to keep going up like enclosing region, enclosing region, enclosing region. So conditional breakpoints, super awesome. I will say I don't use actions all that much, but some people really like them. So this would be good if you expect something to like keep changing and you want to say like output something. So you can go to the output window. You can continue code execution without stopping. This is very similar to like people who like to modify their code and do console out in like JavaScript and stuff. Very easy in JavaScript, but you can't really do that as easily in C# all the time, especially for cases where you're going to end up with root edits, which are edits that if you made to the C# would not allow it to continue running under the debugger. You'd have to recompile and start debugging over. And so like this is going to be helpful in the cases like that, where you don't want to stop the debugger, you want to see like a stream of information, and you can format that as you want. Conditional breakpoints, if you've never used them, go use them. They're awesome. I think there's a few other tricks. Some of them I don't use as much anymore, or haven't. So one thing to know about like the watch window here. So like we know I'm looking at config and I manually expand these a lot. So if your condition has a null reference exception, that will break. Like you have region, if you don't use the dot and the region is null, will vs will you? I assume it's kill you. I don't know. I don't know. This is the easiest way to try. We'll just throw an exception in our thing. And I'm pretty sure what happens here is it catches this exception. And it probably stops debugging. Because it has to evaluate that, right? Like every time this debug line hits, it evaluates it. Yeah, here we go. So it fails to set this breakpoint. Gives you the condition, failed to execute. In this case, it actually catches throw exceptions. So maybe that's not a good one. Maybe, can you do null.toString? Is that even a thing? Do. Yeah, I didn't think you could. I'm like trying to force a null here. I do think you'll get another window, like I just saw, where it would fail, like you get a pop-up that says an exception occurred while evaluating this. Which, interestingly, would mean that you basically just added a conditional break on when the value is null, even though you didn't mean to. Okay. Yeah, so the watch window. They've done a lot of good updates to the watch window recently. One of them is the ability to search. So like I can search for blocks here, but I could also search for functions. And let me expand this out a little bit. So let's look for something that, okay, so everything has an enclosing region, right? And operations, kind, etc. Is reachable. There we go. So it's just like, one thing to note here is when you're looking for stuff, there's a search depth here. So the interesting thing here is if your search depth is low enough, uh, it won't expand nodes out. But remember that expanding nodes is evaluating things in the debugger. So your search depth, when you set it higher, what it's going to do is actually expand out. And you can see that I expanded pretty far down here. So it's expanding out to a depth of 10x, 10 things, and eventually found another thing that said block in it. So it's doing a text search, but what it has to do is evaluate and like expand these things for you. So this search is really helpful, but keep in mind your search depth. And that's kind of how you limit things being evaluated by the debugger, because that can slow it down. But if you don't want to look through, like, for example, all of these and try to find specific block things, you could just increase your search depth and go from there. There is pending. I don't think I use that often or ever. There's this like showed only penned members. I don't know what that does, to be honest. If anybody knows what show penned members is. Oh, you know what it might be actually. Because this is how you pen something in the IDE. I wonder if show only penned members shows only things that are penned here. But I assume they would have to be in the watch window to start with. Locals is like an automated watch window for you. It gets all the things that you need within context of your current stack. You do have a this pointer, which will then point to everything else. Pretty helpful for finding out like what's in the current stack. I will say use that less just because I tend to be a visual person and this is a lot of information, but sometimes it is useful. Autos is like most of the time a reduced version of locals. So you can look that, like in this case we have a loop range map, is unreachable block. We have all these things. Auto kind of reduces that down to things that are important in the current context. Again, all these things do have this search here. Super useful. One window I do like to show people, not necessarily useful here, but if you've never used it before, there's a few things that are really important. Parallel stacks and parallel watch. This is not really that great because, you know, I'm looking at test code right now, so it's basically only running a single thread. But if you're ever broken and want to see what other threads are doing and have a visual idea of it, parallel stacks absolutely amazing. So you're going to get this thing that looks like, first of all, where the threads come from each thread. So you have like the main thread that got started here. This was the process init. This started the worker thread, then started our test execution. You can see that we've broken into run core here. So this is the full call stack. And you can just like double click, it takes you to the correct process, the correct thread, and all that. It is a window instead of like a tool window, so you do get like tabs up here with it. And if you ever have to debug parallel code, parallel stacks are super useful. I haven't used parallel watches often, but it does seem like it's cool. It's one of those things I just need to get better at. But I think the idea is you're also doing watch statements across different threads as well. So if I add a watch statement here and I'm broken, I can see that value on different threads without having to go through each thread and do the watch here. So it's just like an ease of use thing. Super, super awesome. If you've never looked at your breakpoints, you can see I have a bunch of them set here, but you can also set conditions and stuff within here. Like, you know how I was clicking in the margin to do this, you can also set conditions here. You don't have to go to find where that breakpoint is, you can just check them here. You can also remove them. They have different like columns and stuff. This is all pretty useful. And the immediate window, I tend to try code out in the immediate window a lot. So if I'm unsure of like what a specific value is, I tend to do that sometimes more than the watch window if I'm just like looking for a one-off thing. So a good example might be, so we're looking at this int, right? So first of all, I want to know two things. I want to know if this is going to pass. Where did my immediate window go? There we go. So I want to see if any is going to pass, so that's true. And like, let's say I want to get the first thing. I want to see what that string is. That's 0. So like this is two strings for me and everything, which is nice sometimes. Hit or miss of whether that like actually is what you want to see, but for quick information, sometimes easier to view than the watch window. And I used most of this in the stream today when I was like going through and debugging. One thing I kind of tend to do a lot, I was trying to reduce this on stream. There's shortcuts for doing running tests. Let me see if they show up in the right click menu. Oh wait, no, we have to stop the debugger. There are shortcuts for running tests if you've never used them. So Control R, and this comma here means like Control R and then T, and then Control R, Control T. So if you just hold Control when you do, so let go before you hit T just to run them, hold Control to debug them. I use that a lot on stream. I even get it wrong sometimes. I accidentally debug a lot because I hold Control too long, but usually it's okay. Yeah, I need to learn how to use it. There's a task vision graph as well. Yep, exactly. So that was going to be the next thing. Like debug windows, you never looked at them, are just, there's a lot of tooling here that I think you can find. And some people ask me like, you know, how do you learn about this stuff? You just poke around. There's some good documentation on this. I think the debugging team has done a good job of like posting more new stuff. One thing I haven't figured out much use for is GPU threads, but I think that's just because I don't do anything in the GPU related. And what is it? Where's it at? I don't know if it's here. I usually hide it. But there's like the initial window that comes up that shows your telemetry for App Insights. I've just never been on a project that uses App Insights a lot. So live visual tree is awesome if you're doing XAML. We're not doing XAML, so we're not gonna look at that. Yeah, I think that's kind of like the debugger tips and tricks I can give you. Other than that, I will always say that, especially in the Roslyn code bases, tests are way easier than testing in Visual Studio. So you gotta keep in mind, like if you're gonna debug through Visual Studio, you're loading a lot of stuff, and running under debugger is not too cheap, right? Like it's gonna add some overhead. I used to be amazed that I could run everything on the debugger, like it could run Visual Studio, and it's still kind of amazing. But oh yeah, you can show tasks here. Yeah, sorry, I didn't show the task view, but you can show tasks as well. And I think the parallel stacks also has tasks. Yeah, that's what you were saying. Completely forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, debugging Roslyn specific stuff and Roslyn analyzers. It's useful to test in Visual Studio, but writing unit tests is always going to be the fastest way. So that's what I tend to do on stream, and tend to do in real life too. So I'll write a unit test first. I'll I'll showcase that I can reproduce the issue. And then if I can't reproduce it in a unit test, I do check to see if there's anything weird about how I've set up the unit test. So you'll see me go through a process of like trying to run it in Visual Studio itself and stuff like that. But you don't need to debug through all of that yet. You just need to make a reproducible test of it. Because if you can't test it, one, it's gonna be a lot harder to fix, and two, if you can't test it, how do you know it's never gonna regress? So, right, might as well go ahead and write the test up front, especially for bugs. Do y'all have any more questions? Happy to take them now. Now is a good time. I will say one thing I've been wanting to do on this stream, and as I kind of like grow my audience, if I can ever start making money on this stream, I do want to find a good cause to start donating to, and maybe like hook up some donations going with that. I think we can get some good stuff going and get some hype around that. Jason, welcome back. Yes, everything is fixed. There's no problems at all. Don't watch any of the rest of the stream. Everything is perfect. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. No, so I kind of hit a mental block, and I think I'm not providing like a useful stream while just sitting there debugging. So I'm gonna stop for the day as far as coding. I'm just answering questions right now. This problem did not get solved, and that will happen sometimes. I think I'm gonna spend some time with this. DataFlow is kind of tough to debug through. Especially like I don't understand it well enough, so I really want to just like buckle down and understand it. And once I solve this problem, I do want to come back and do a stream where I explain how I solved this problem and kind of do like a post-analysis of it, right? I don't think I'll always be able to solve bugs on stream, and I need to be okay with that, and hopefully y'all are okay with that too. But I do think it would be useful to do like a post-analysis of it, right? Like a post-mortem of, okay, now that I have time, I've spent more hours on this, let's explain what the issue actually was, maybe even like how I got there if I can, stuff like that. But right now I'm just fielding questions. Pedro's been asking a few good ones about debugging. We were going over like parallel stack viewer, and as Pedro pointed out, you can view tasks as well, which is awesome. And just other debugging tips, because that's pretty much all I did on the stream today was debugging. But hey, this is the first stream where I don't end up with a pull request after the stream. So I'm doing pretty good. This is stream number 4 or 5. I think I'm on a good track record. Yeah, live streaming is real life coding. I appreciate that you understand. I still need to write a song for my stream because I'm just using like free music right now. Yeah, you're welcome, Pedro. All right. Seems like things are dying down a little bit. I'm gonna call it here. It has been fun, even though it was a struggle. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. If you have any feedback, always feel free to reach out to me. Twitch, you can just talk in the chat if you want to. I look at the chat afterwards. I'm on Twitter. There should be all my social links in there. Or you can harass me on GitHub. Feel free to drop by, hang out in the discussions. I also hang out in the Discord for .NET if you haven't seen that. I should post a link to that at some point. But it's a good resource. And with that, until next time, adios.